Now, on Tuesday, the High Court ordered the presidency to open up the interviews for the candidates of who would be our next head of public prosecutions. The organization that took him the right to know joins us now in studio. First up, Mluleki Marongo, who is the Access to Information researcher at Right to Know, and Rupert Candy, who is a lawyer representing Right to Know. Gentlemen, for your time, I thank you. First of all, Mluleki, let's start with you. Why is it important that we get to know the interview process of who becomes our next head of public prosecutions?
Most importantly is that access to information is the lifeblood of any democracy. And this is not just information pertaining to, I don't know, it's information pertaining to everything that happens in state sphere and in the corporate sphere. So that's the fundamental part of it. Secondly, we need information regarding who is going to be the head of the NDPP, because we want to see them being cross-examined about their integrity, what they plan to do for the NDPP, what they've done in the past, like how they will turn around, what's the turnaround strategy from for our prosecution authority. So that's why this is so important, so that we can trust the head of the prosecutions authority in South Africa to do his job.
Rupert, we knew from the time the verdict was out with regards to Shaun Abrams that we would need to find a new head of public prosecutions in this country. But what was the president's rebuttal when you put it across that we as citizenry has a right to know?
Well, the president attacked our papers on two fronts broadly. The first front was on the lack of urgency. In fact, he alleged that there was a lack of urgency in that the application that was launched by the Right to Know campaign was self-created. And obviously on the merits, he attacked it in respect of the fact that the current process to appoint the National Director of Public Prosecutions is a prerogative power that he has, and we didn't argue with that. However, what we did argue was that given the fact that he already opened the process up to make provision for representation in the current advisory panel that is currently sitting in the union buildings from various members of the legal profession, we felt that he should have taken it a step further to say, well, the media needs to be here because the media represents the public. However, the president felt that he had already done what he needed to do by appointing these representatives, and we obviously disagreed with that.
Ultimately, we're trying to change a culture here, especially with regards to this office. There's been a turnstile for whoever has been in charge of it, more than we care to remember. The truth is, in democratic South Africa, no one has ever finished their term in that office. Will this verdict change that?
It's the first step. It's not everything that's needed to ensure an independent and non-biased NDPP, but it's the first step. So after this, we need an engaged citizenry to watch the interviews. We need the media to attend those interviews and report legitimately on what's happening inside. And afterwards, we need to see and to ask the president, actually, once he's made his decision on who the specific person is, we need to ask the president, on what basis did you choose this person? And continuing even after that, once the person is in office, we need to then continue to hold that person accountable.
The same accountability that Mluleki is speaking about, I mean, do you feel that the judge went far enough? Sure, we get to see the interview process, but that does not really say that we'll get accountability for how or who got chosen. Do you feel the judgment went far enough?
I think the judgment went as far as it could. Basically, Judge Lowe agreed with the submissions that we made, and we are fortunate enough that the law, basically the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, the legislation being the NPA Act of 1998, as well as a slew of case law, including from the highest court in the land, the Constitutional Court was in our favor. So, as Judge said, Judge Lowe stated, when you are dealing with the exercise of public power, it is important in terms of the Constitution that that power is done in a way that justice can be seen to be done. So any exercise of public power must be done in open. Openness is the rule and secrecy is the exception. So we were happy that the judge ruled in our favor in that regard. And basically, Judge Lowe, just follow the law as it stands. And we are quite surprised that the president decided to oppose the application.
I was surprised too. A new dawn must ultimately mean something, but therein lies the next question. This office has been a politically sensitive spot for a lot of politicians. How is the new head of the National Prosecuting Authority going to avoid the next call from Luthuli House? And, you know, will it actually change how we've been doing things throughout the last 24 years?
I think whoever heads this office next, and if that person decides to answer the call from Luthuli, will be stupid. Because I think the office currently, there's so much public scrutiny over that office. The media is engaged, civil society is there, citizens are there, including the president. He's also aware that after the last 6-7 years that we've had in SA, we are now at a time where we need to hold those in power accountable for everything they do or say. So whoever does this, they would be stupid, like I said.
Did the challenge of your particular case with regards to opening up of the interview process, did it change your perception about, you know, how fast things have changed, or rather not changed in South Africa?
No, absolutely. I think it's a breath of fresh air, because remember, in the past, there hasn't been, you know, an open process, you know, as is happening currently in the union buildings with the interviews that are taking place. And, you know, the position's basically a poison chalice. Not a single...
You're a lawyer yourself. I'm sure you speak about it in all kinds of corners.
Yeah, exactly. Look, not a single NDPP, previous NDPP, has ever finished his term of office. And I say his because it's only been men. There hasn't been a single woman. And that's one of the things that they must grapple with in the union buildings over this period. The fact that there hasn't been a woman that has led the NPA. But ever since Bulalani Nguka, the first NDPP, up until recently with Sean Abrams, nobody has finished the term. But hopefully, you know, with the opening up of this process, and I've been fortunate enough to have some time to watch over the past 2 days, you know, what's been going on. And some of the questions that have been asked by the panel have been absolutely brutal. And it's
I found them that way too.
It's good, because if the president's decision not to open up to the public stood, we wouldn't be seeing what we've seen over these past 2 days. And it's critical that the public has the right to see this.
Mluleki, that's right to know. This is more than just about opening up access in terms of these interviews. Ultimately, one cannot help but look at the entire process. Some say that the appointment of Jeff Radebe presents a problem there, because Jeff Radebe was at the helm of the appointments of so many other heads of public prosecutions that never finished their term. Do you, as Right to Know, have any objections towards Jeff Radebe, who's now a Minister of Energy? I don't get it. He's not the Minister of Justice. I would understand Michael Masuta. Jeff Radebe, no objections whatsoever?
None. We don't have any objections.
Why?
We have no objections because there's been, I think, in this process, he has shown there's been no evidence of maladministration or ill will or any of those
But he
things.
hasn't been part of a successful process. That's what I'm trying to say. The appointment of one head of National Prosecuting Authority from the start until the end.
It's one of the beautiful things about this judgment is that part of our argument was that the president's powers, as though they are his executive powers, and within this section, there's no prescription around how to appoint an NDPP. We took the jurisprudence further by saying, actually, although that section doesn't prescribe a procedure, the whole Constitution does. It places a curtailment over his prerogative powers. So transparency and openness are one of those things. So I think as we go to the future, that principled decision on transparency will, I think, take us closer to an NDPP that is credible, whether it's Jeff Radebe or anyone else.
Mluleki, I have to ask you this as a parting question. I know you guys at Right to Know are always looking for other areas. Which space are you looking to open up for public engagement and public consumption? Which other areas can government open up more freely on?
Security and surveillance. Everywhere we go, including in your building, they're taking our license details. They're taking our biometrics. Everywhere you go. So what's the problem with that? We don't know where that information is kept. We don't know what those people who hold that information, whether they're selling it to others or not. The body that's supposed to protect our personal information, the information regulator, is not fully established. So for now, they can't do single thing except to write letters, engage people. They have no investigative powers. They have no powers to punish people because that section of POPI hasn't been enacted yet. So that's a major problem. Security and surveillance. Our biometrics, our personal information is being abused. There's been data breaches all over. Facebook, multiple banks in SA. That's a big area where government needs to step in.
I think you might have a friend in Malusi Gigaba, my friend. That is the South African organization, non-profit organization, Right to Know. That was Mluleki Marongo, who is the researcher for access to information at that particular organization, as well as the attorney for Right to Know, Rupert Kendi. That's where we leave the show this evening. Thank you very much for being with us. We're back on your screen next Tuesday at 6:30. Until then, keep it locked.